The new year always brought a sense of fresh beginnings, but this time it arrived with an unsettling surprise. My doorbell rang, piercing the quiet of my small, cozy home. Expecting maybe a neighbor or a late courier, I casually swung the door open. My heart plummeted into my stomach. There on my doorstep stood two figures from my past I never wished to see again, my sister Claire and my ex-husband Ethan. Claire, with her ever-present smug smile, looked almost triumphant standing next to Ethan. Ethan's presence was like a reopened wound, his expression a mix of arrogance and false pity. 3 years had passed since I last saw them, and here they were as if they'd never shattered my world. "Why are you here?" My voice was a shaky whisper, betraying my shock. Claire's laughter was like nails on a chalkboard. "Oh, look, Ethan, she's speechless." "What's wrong, Anna?" "Not happy to see your dear sister and loving ex-husband." Ethan leaned against the doorframe, his gaze scanning the room behind me. "Yeah, Anna, we just thought we'd pay a visit, see how the old place is holding up without us." I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to slam the door in their faces. "This is no longer your place, Ethan, and you, Claire, have no business here either." Their smirks only widened at my attempt to stand my ground. Ethan's next words were like a slap. "You know, Anna, I really regret ever tying myself to you. What a waste of my best years." Claire chimed in, her voice dry with mock sympathy. Poor Anna, always the underachiever, even in marriage. Their cruel words stung, but before I could muster a response, a voice from behind startled us all. "Who's at the door, Anna?" It was my father, George, whom I wasn't expecting until later that evening. His unexpected presence threw Claire and Ethan off balance. The smirks faded from their faces as they awkwardly shifted their stance. "Dad, you're back early," I managed to say, my voice laced with relief. George's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene before him. "Claire, Ethan, what in the world are you two doing here?" Their composure crumbled, the confident facade melting away under my father's stern gaze. For a moment there was silence, a tense air hanging between us. It was broken only by Claire's hesitant voice. "We just wanted to wish Anna a happy new year." George's disbelief was palpable. "Really? After years of silence, you suddenly remember family ties on New Year's Day?" His tone was icy, hinting at unspoken anger and disappointment. Ethan cleared his throat, attempting to regain his composure. "Well, we'd also had some news to share, but maybe this isn't the right time." I knew there was more to their visit than just New Year's greetings. Their unexpected arrival, the smug looks, the veiled insults, it was all too familiar, the same old pattern of deceit and manipulation. But this time, I wasn't the same person they had left behind. As they awkwardly excused themselves, promising to return another time, I closed the door with a mixture of relief and dread. Their return could mean only one thing: trouble was brewing once again, and this time I had to be ready. After Claire and Ethan left, the house felt oppressively silent. My father, George, sat across from me, his brow furrowed in concern. "Anna, what was that all about? Why are they back?" I sighed, feeling the weight of years of suppressed memories. "I don't know, Dad, but with Claire and Ethan, it's never without a reason." George nodded, his expression darkening. "I remember how things ended, how they betrayed you." "You don't know of anything, Anna." I appreciated his support, but there was a part of the story that even he didn't fully understand: the depth of Claire's manipulation and deceit. It went back to our childhood, a time that should have been filled with innocent memories, but was instead marked by Claire's selfishness. "Dad, do you remember my 10th birthday? The porcelain doll Grandma gave me?" I asked, my voice tinged with sadness. George's face softened. "Of course you loved that doll." I nodded, the memory vivid in my mind. Claire broke it on purpose, but she cried and told Mom it was an accident, that I was the one who knocked it over. George looked surprised. I never knew that. Your mother always said it was an accident. That was just the beginning. I continued, the old wounds reopening. She always played the innocent, and I was the one who got blamed. She knew exactly how to manipulate everyone around her. I could see the regret in George's eyes, the realization of what he hadn't seen all those years. I'm sorry, Anna. I should have seen through it. It's not your fault, Dad. We were all fooled by Claire's act. I paused, taking a deep breath. Even with Ethan, she played us both. They deserve each other. George reached across, taking my hand in a firm, comforting grip. What matters is that you're free from their toxicity now. Don't let them drag you back into their drama. I nodded, trying to muster a smile. The conversation with my father made it clear that the past wasn't as buried as I had hoped. Claire and Ethan's return wasn't just a simple visit. It was a harbinger of more turmoil to come. That night, sleep eluded me. The memories of Claire's manipulations, the way she had always outshone me in our parents' eyes, the way she'd effortlessly charmed Ethan away from me, it all swirled in my mind. Her return meant she was up to something, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread about what was to come. But amidst the turmoil of thoughts, a determined resolve began to form. I wouldn't be the passive victim this time. I would stand up to Claire and Ethan. Whatever their game was, this time I was ready to fight back. In the days following Claire and Ethan's visit, their words and smirks haunted me. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself, but the past refused to stay buried. The memory of my marriage to Ethan, once filled with love and promise, now felt like a thorny path I had been forced to tread barefoot. It started beautifully. Ethan was charming, attentive, and everything I thought I wanted in a partner. We were happy, or so I believed, but then came the subtle changes, the late nights, the unexplained absences, the evasive answers. I trusted him, ignoring the nagging doubts and the whispers of intuition. Then one evening, the veil lifted. I returned home early from a business trip, the anticipation of surprising Ethan tingling in my heart, but the surprise was mine. I found Ethan and Claire together, their laughter echoing in our living room. A scene that shattered my world. The confrontation that followed was a blur of tears, accusations, and bitter truths. Claire, with her characteristic lack of remorse, simply shrugged, her words slicing through me. You were always too busy with your little job, Anna. Ethan needed someone, and I was there. It's not our fault you couldn't keep your husband's interest. Ethan's justification was equally cold. I thought I loved you, Anna, but Claire, she's different, exciting. You and I were never right for each other. Their betrayal was a double-edged sword, cutting deep into my heart and trust. The divorce that followed was quick, with Ethan and Claire making no secret of their relationship. I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken life, feeling foolish and betrayed. Now, as I sat in my office, the memories gnawing at my mind, anger bubbled inside me. How dare they waltz back into my life after what they did? How dare they think they could disrupt my peace again? But it was more than anger. It was a burning desire for retribution. I wanted them to feel a fraction of the pain they had caused me. The idea of revenge, once foreign and distasteful, now seemed like the only way to close this painful chapter of my life. I made a decision. I would confront them and demand answers. But this time, I wouldn't be the blindsided, heartbroken wife. I would be strong and unyielding. They had underestimated me once. They wouldn't make the same mistake again. I picked up my phone and dialed Ethan's number. My voice was steady, my resolve firm. "Ethan, we need to talk. Meet me at the cafe on 5th Street tomorrow at noon." His surprised stammer was a small victory, but it was enough. "Sure, Anna. Tomorrow." Then the call ended, and for the first time in days, I felt a sense of control. The game had begun, and this time I was playing to win. The cafe was bustling with the midday crowd when I arrived. I spotted Ethan seated at a corner table, his posture tense. As I approached, his attempt at a casual smile didn't reach his eyes. "Anna, thanks for coming." I wasn't sure you'd want to see me," he started, his voice laced with faint concern. "I don't," I replied sharply, taking a seat across from him. "But I need answers. Why are you and Claire back in my life?" Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Look, Anna, things haven't been great for us after we left. We had some tough times." I felt a bitter satisfaction seeing him uneasy. "Tough times? You expect sympathy from me." No, of course not," he stammered. "It's just that Claire is pregnant. We thought it's time to mend fences, for the sake of family." His words hit me like a cold wave. Claire pregnant. A part of me felt a pang of hurt, but it was quickly overshadowed by skepticism. "And you think I would what?" "Welcome you with open arms," I asked, my voice laced with disbelief. "It's not just that," Ethan said, avoiding my gaze. "There's the matter of the inheritance, your father's estate." So there it was, the true reason behind their sudden reappearance. It wasn't guilt or a desire for reconciliation. It was greed. "You have some nerve, Ethan. You cheat, you leave, and now you come back for money." I felt my anger rising, my voice growing louder despite the public setting. "People can change, Anna. We've been through a lot. We just want a chance to start over, to be a family," he pleaded. "A family built on lies and deceit," I retorted, my heart racing with anger. Just then my phone vibrated. It was a message from Claire. "We need to talk. Alone. My place tonight." I looked up at Ethan, my decision made. "Tell Claire I'll see her tonight, but make no mistake, Ethan. This isn't a family reunion. This is me settling the score." Ethan's face fell, a mixture of surprise and concern etching his features as I stood up to leave. I felt a strange sense of empowerment. For too long, I had been the victim of their selfish actions, but now the tables were turning. I walked out of the cafe, leaving Ethan behind, my mind racing with possibilities. Tonight's meeting with Claire would be more than just a confrontation. It would be the beginning of my revenge. A chance to reclaim my dignity and make them regret ever crossing me. After leaving Ethan at the cafe, a mix of emotions swirled within me. Anger, betrayal, but above all, a newfound determination. As I drove home, my mind raced with plans for the evening's confrontation with Claire. I needed to be prepared to stand my ground against her manipulative tactics. As the evening approached, I stood in front of my mirror, steeling myself. The reflection showed a woman changed by adversity, no longer the naive girl who once fell for Ethan's charm or got overshadowed by Claire's deceit. Tonight, I was facing my past, ready to confront and overcome it. Claire's house was a stark contrast to mine, lavish, ostentatious, a testament to her and Ethan's superficial values. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. The door swung open, and there she stood, Claire, as poised and arrogant as ever. "Anna, come in. I'm glad you could make it." Her tone was condescending, as if she was doing me a favor by allowing me into her home. I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the extravagant decor. "So, Claire, why am I here? What do you want from me?" I asked, cutting to the chase. Claire led me to the living room, her movements graceful yet calculated. I wanted to talk to you, sister to sister. It's been too long, and with the baby coming, I thought it's time we buried the hatchet. I almost laughed at her audacity. Bury the hatchet? After you stole my husband and now come back for my father's inheritance. Claire's expression hardened for a moment before she regained her composure. Anna, let's be practical. Ethan and I need financial stability for our child. Your father's estate can help with that. Her blatant greed was repulsive. You expect me to just hand over what's rightfully mine after everything you've done. It's not just about the money, Anna, Claire said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. It's about family. We're still sisters after all. I stared at her, incredulous. You lost the right to call me sister the moment you betrayed me. There was a silence, a tension that hung heavily between us. Then Claire's facade cracked, her true nature surfacing. Fine, if you're going to be selfish about it, then let's talk legalities. You know Dad's will favors the first grandchild. My baby will ensure Ethan, and I get the inheritance. Her words hit me like a physical blow. This was her game, to use her pregnancy as leverage to manipulate our father's will in her favor. You're unbelievable, Claire. You think you can just manipulate everyone and everything to your liking. But not this time. I won't let you. My voice was firm, unyielding. Claire smirked, a cold, calculating look in her eyes. We'll see, Anna. We'll see how long you can keep up this righteous act. I turned to leave, my mind reeling from Claire's callousness. As I drove away from her house, a plan began to form in my mind. Claire and Ethan were playing a dangerous game, but now I knew the rules. It was time for them to learn that I was no longer the passive player in their twisted game. The days following my encounter with CLA were spent in a state of heightened alertness, preparing for the inevitable legal battle over my father's estate. I sought legal counsel, determined to protect what was rightfully mine and my father's legacy from CLA and Ethan's greedy clutches. As I delved deeper into the legal intricacies, a piece of shocking news reached me. Ethan's business, the one he had started with such bravado, had collapsed. They were drowning in debt. Their lavish lifestyle was unsustainable. This revelation shed new light on their sudden reappearance and desperation for the inheritance. I met with my lawyer, a sharp-witted woman named Miss Harper, to discuss our strategy. They're cornered financially and legally, she said, scanning the documents. Your sister's claim about the will favoring the first grandchild doesn't stand on solid legal ground. We can fight this. Her confidence was reassuring, but I knew Claire and Ethan wouldn't give up easily. They were like cornered animals, unpredictable and dangerous. My resolve was tested sooner than expected. One evening, as I returned home from work, I found Claire waiting on my doorstep, her expression a mix of defiance and desperation. Anna, we need to talk, she said, her voice uncharacteristically shaky. I eyed her wearily. I have nothing to say to you, CLA. This matter is now in the hands of lawyers. She stepped forward, blocking my path. Please, Anna, I'm not pregnant. It was a lie, a stupid plan Ethan and I concocted to sway Dad's will in our favor. Her confession, though shocking, didn't surprise me. It was just another deceit in their long list of manipulations. So all this time you've been lying. What now, CLA? Ready to admit defeat? I asked, my voice cold. CLA's eyes welled up with tears, but they didn't move me. I don't know what to do. Ethan's business is ruined. We're losing everything. I need your help, Anna. Her plea for help, after all the pain she had caused, was almost laughable. You want my help after everything you've done. You really are delusional." She grabbed my arm, desperation in her grasp. "Please, Anna, I'm your sister. Remember how we used to be before all this?" I pulled away, her touch repulsive to me. "The sister I knew died the moment you betrayed me. You made your choice. CLA. Now live with it." Leaving CLA standing alone, I entered my house, closing the door on her and our shared past. The sense of finality was liberating. I was no longer bound by the chains of our toxic relationship. That night, as I sat alone in the quiet of my living room, I realized that this was more than just a battle for inheritance. It was a fight for my own liberation, a chance to finally close the chapter on CLA and Ethan's treachery and move on with my life. The following weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings and tense negotiations. Claire and Ethan's desperation became more evident as their financial woes escalated. Despite this, I remained steadfast, bolstered by Miss Harper's expertise and my newfound strength. Then came the day of the decisive court hearing. The courtroom was cold and sterile, a stark contrast to the heated emotions simmering beneath the surface. Ethan and Claire sat together, a facade of unity, but the strain was evident in their haggard appearances. As the proceedings began, Miss Harper was methodical and precise, dismantling each of Claire and Ethan's arguments with legal acumen. CLA's lie about her pregnancy was exposed, further weakening their position. I watched CLA as the reality of her situation dawned on her. The confident, manipulative sister I once knew was gone, replaced by a shell of her former self, consumed by the consequences of her actions. During a recess, Claire approached me, a plea in her eyes. "Anna, please, I know I don't deserve your mercy, but we're ruined. We have nothing." Her words, once capable of swaying me, now fell on deaf ears. "You brought this on yourselves, CLA. You chose greed and deceit. Now you must face the results." The final judgment was a resounding victory for me. The judge ruled in my favor, ensuring that the inheritance remained rightfully mine. CLA and Ethan left the courtroom defeated, their schemes reduced to ashes. But as I walked out, a sense of closure filled me. This wasn't just a legal victory. It was a personal triumph over the ghosts of my past. Claire and Ethan's downfall was the karmic justice they deserved, but for me, it was liberation from the chains of betrayal and hurt. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life, free from the shadows of Claire and Ethan. The wound they left would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I had emerged stronger, more resilient, and with a clearer understanding of who I was and what I stood for. And so, as I sat in my garden one evening watching the sunset, I realized that true victory wasn't in revenge or the suffering of those who wronged me. It was in the peace and strength I found within myself, the ability to move forward, and the promise of new beginnings.